Sounds good. So before we begin, I know, Sean, you don't need no introduction, but for the folks that are
I always
joining,
like a big introduction.
perfect.
Music, video, pyrotechnics, I want it all.
Absolutely, absolutely. For the folks that don't know Sean Kanan is the star of Karate Kid alongside Ralph Macchio, who's known as Daniel-san. And from a certain perspective, you can bill him as the villain, but from someone else's perspective, just a young entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely pick your taste. And but yeah, most know him as the opponent of Daniel. I actually also don't laugh at me at this, but big fan of General Hospital, AJ from General Hospital, and Deacon Sharp from The Bold and the Beautiful. Over 20 years,
Thank you.
I believe 20 years from both shows, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan. Yeah, definitely you've been actually in acting now for over 35 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I came out to Los Angeles in '87. I came out to finish my political science degree at UCLA. And while I was there, that's when I got the role on Karate Kid 3. So it's about 1989, I think. So yeah, pretty much since '88, I would say I've been acting professionally. Long time.
And you were doing karate at a younger age, I think since 13, 14?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I grew up in a town called Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and I started studying Shotokan karate, and later my karate school joined Sensei Fumio Demura's karate school, which was the Japan Karate Federation. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, Sensei Demura was actually Pat Morita's stunt double. So what a strange, it's weird how life works out. I mean, I had no idea that when our karate school joined his, I don't even think I knew that he was Pat Morita's stunt double at the time, and how years later that would prove to be one of the most important relationships in my life.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And I believe, he's also, so for the folks that don't know, he's also referred to as the real Mr. Miyagi.
He is, absolutely.
And I believe he actually did work on all four Karate Kids. I believe when you auditioned for this role, you had actually, when you first heard about it, you were watching Karate Kid 2 and had just gotten out of the theaters. Is that correct?
Well, okay, so there was an open call, which a cattle call, which means basically anybody with any stunt. I mean, the chance of finding, a lead actor in a highly successful third installment of a franchise, it just doesn't happen. So I had been acting. I had done a couple things. I had done like one episode of network TV, and I think I had done one really bad horror film. And I showed up at the casting director's office, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a real actor. I've got my SAG card. I've done one episode of TV on a show that got canceled. Can I audition for you and not go to the open call?" And she was like, "No, you got to go fight it out, no pun intended." And so I showed up at the studio the next day, and there must have been, 1,500 people waiting to audition. And John Avildsen, who directed the first two and the third Karate Kid, and who also won the Oscar for directing Rocky years earlier, I think it was like 1976, he was making his way up this line, and I knew I'd have a couple seconds to get his attention. And he stopped in front of me. I sort of did everything I could to kind of lock eyes with him and get him to, stop in front of me. And he said, "Okay, let's do a little improvisation." And he asked me to intimidate him, and I guess I did. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it had something to do with visiting him later that evening in his kitchen with a butcher knife if he didn't give me an audition. And then I was thinking, okay, did I go like full psycho? I mean, did I like go too far? But I guess I went just the right amount of psycho. And so they brought me inside the studio, which was like, there was a soundstage the size of an airline hangar. And there were news outlets, there was Entertainment Tonight, there was Access Hollywood. I mean, it was like a 3-ring circus. And there were like 9 other guys there that he had brought in from outside. And there was a makeshift set, and there's Ralph Macchio. And I mean, this is a guy that, like a year and a half before, I was, a paid customer watching him in the theater. And you know, I knew that if I allowed myself to kind of react that he's this big star, I was going to blow it. And so again, they asked me to do a scene with him, which was basically just another improvisation of intimidating him, and I guess I did. And I thought I did really well, but I later found out they wound up hiring somebody else for the part of Mike Barnes. They had this guy work, I guess, for about a week, and it didn't work out, and they called me back, and eventually I got the part.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's an amazing journey. I mean, to beat out 1,500 to 2,000 people, and even in Hollywood, sometimes, like, if you're familiar with Back to the Future, there was someone that was cast and I think shot the
Oh,
first.
it was Eric Stoltz, wasn't it?
Eric Stoltz. Stoltz, yeah. Well, awesome actor, but
yeah, he's a great actor. Just I believe to a certain extent that certain parts are meant for certain people. I would sit out there and talk and shoot the shit and everything. And I said, listen, there's this role. They're doing this open call, and I said I'm going to get it. And it's pretty arrogant. It's pretty arrogant for a guy from Western Pennsylvania to say that. And I wound up getting it. So.
Would you say as an actor? Because I mean, you'd been acting for a few years before you got the part of Karate Kid 3, I think 86, 87,
right.
when you started. What do you think is the timetable? Like, say, for example, if you went, 5 years without getting a major role, for someone that's trying to be an aspiring actor or get into the business, would you say after 5 years, if you're not in, to maybe give up? Or, what does it take to kind of keep that drive and motivation? Because, I mean, you walked in there saying that I'm getting this part, and you had the Mike Barnes persona.
Yeah. But listen, I'll tell you something. Pandemic aside, this is a very good time to be an actor in the sense that, when I was starting out, there was no internet. And now with YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and everything, everybody has the ability to create content for themselves. The big thing when I started out was everyone would say, okay, we want to see what you look like on tape. I mean, we don't even use tape anymore. But it was difficult to have something semi-professional for a casting director or an agent or a producer to see what you look like on film, right? Now, everybody has the ability to create somebody and upload it. So, I mean, if after 5 years you're not making any traction, then it's not that you're not working hard enough, you're not working smart enough, because you absolutely can create your own. This is an incredibly difficult business. I honestly don't know if I had it to do again, if I would choose to go in it. I mean, or if I did, I think I might have done it a little differently. You have to be incredibly resilient. Many times you don't get a role for reasons that have very little to do with who you are. But I do believe that there's something to be said for if you can stay in the game, if you can remain persistent, you will get your break. I work more than probably 90% of the members of the Screen Actors Guild, and I'm still out of work a lot. I've had long periods of, I think I had a period one time of almost 2 years of not getting any work. It happens. And then suddenly, bing, 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 you get, you have 3 jobs, and it's how it is.
Yeah. And you did mention the pandemic. So, I mean, obviously these are just unforeseen times. Nobody could have predicted the situation that we're currently in today. The whole world. Stay active. Kind of what are your workout regimens, or how have things changed during the pandemic?
Well, obviously the biggest thing is you can't go to a gym, which is difficult. And for me, I've just been trying to do push-ups, do groundwork as far as stuff on a yoga mat, ab work, stuff like that. I'm far from perfect. Is a phenomenal martial artist, and I've been working with him a couple times a week via Zoom, and then I'll go see him in person like once a month to go train, and that's been because it's very different than I stretch. I mean, I do what I can.
Perfect. No, that's a lot more home gyms and folks, utilizing, things like outdoor working out and. But yeah, no, you mentioned stick fighting. Actually, one of my best friends is Filipino, and his dad is actually teaches stick fighting with it, and seen some of the benefits
Yeah,
there.
it's totally different, and it's fun and interesting, and a whole new way for me to feel uncoordinated. But I'm trying.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I do have to ask this question. I'm a pretty big fan of Ralph Macchio, and a big fan of my cousin Vinny as well too.
Yeah.
So just want to know, kind of what was it like working with Ralph, kind of on the set? Any funny stories or interesting stories or takeaways from working with him?
I mean, here's the thing. Ralph had already obviously done the first two films with
Yeah.
Martin Kove and with Pat Morita. When you do two films with somebody, you have a shorthand and a relationship and everything. So I was the new kid on the block, and Ralph had a lot of pressure on him with the stuff. He had to learn lots and lots of choreography, and was in so many of the scenes, et cetera. So, I mean, we didn't really get to spend a whole lot of social time together other than working together. And I had all of my choreography I had to learn, and my training, and the actual filming. So, not really any great sort of backstage stories about me and Ralph that I can think of. He's extremely professional and dedicated, and he's great at what he was doing, and I was just really honored to work with him.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
the other thing too is, I grew up not only with the Karate Kid, but I grew up reading S.E. Hinton's novels, one of which was The Outsiders, and Ralph played Johnny in The Outsiders. He was terrific in it, and ironically, after I was in Karate Kid 3, I wound up starring in the television show, the short-lived television show, The Outsiders, that was on Fox. I played the leader of the Socs, the rich kids gang. So just kind of this weird, intertwining of sort of me and Ralph during those years professionally.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of times, it's you kind of pick up different interesting things. Obviously, working. You obviously know this better than anybody. You've been in the business for a while and worked with some extraordinary actors, and you definitely get to pick up a lot of things that kind of last a lifetime.
Sure.
I did want to ask Sean. So you obviously were the star in Karate Kid 3. You were a fan of Karate Kid 1 and 2. Unbiased answer, which Karate Kid is your favorite? And also, we'll throw in the next Karate Kid also.
I have to go with the original. I mean, I think the original was incredible. It's one of those films that I believe, whenever you watch it, it's kind of like Rocky. You know exactly what's going to happen after you've seen it, but the thing that John Avildsen really was able to create and knew how to create was a visceral gut sense of connection with Rocky Balboa, with Daniel LaRusso. And so, by the time the final tournament's around and he's fighting Johnny, and it's just, and the crane kick connects, it's this, it builds to critical mass emotionally, and it does it every time. It still amazes me. I mean, I've, obviously not only been in one of the movies, but I've seen them many, many times. And every now and then when I, turn the TV on, and there will be like the final scene, and, it never fails to elicit that emotional response from me. And I think it does the same with everyone who's a fan. And, I think the other thing too is, why do we watch the same movies again and again? The movies don't change, but the eyes with which we see the movies change as our life experience evolves. And so seeing the movie as a, 17-year-old kid or whatever I was, and then watching it as an adult, I think you see different things, and you relate to it in different ways, but they all still resonate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Rocky, ready to leave and head out to dinner. If it's on, you're showing up late. It's one of those movies like Godfather, and just a classic. You can't leave it. And for me, I mean, I think Rocky 1 or even Rocky 2 are my favorites. I mean, those are my favorite ones. The originals, just everything stemmed because of them.
Sure.
Um,
I
so,
love Rocky Four too. I think Rocky Four was just epic. You know,
yeah.
with Dolph.
You actually reminded me of the Drago. You came off as just this big, like when you first came into that shop and
Yeah.
just, you know, I don't want to use any bad words, but just kicked Daniel's ass. You beat his ass
You
in
know,
the
it's
in
funny.
the in the
I
shop.
decided I decided to get the haircut that I had for Karate Kid 3 completely based on on Drago's haircut. I just thought it was a really good
That
idea.
I've always felt that way. I always felt
That's
like it was
exactly why I did it. I had seen Rocky 4. When did Rocky 4 come out? I don't even remember. It must have, obviously it was before Karate Kid 3. Because
84.
yeah, I saw it and I was like, yo, in retrospect, I mean, maybe now I would have even gone with like a mohawk or something really out there. But yeah, and it had a big effect on me, that film.
Questions that I do have a few questions that I got from the fans that I wanted to go ahead and your way.
Sure.
So first question we got here, you know, it's been you know, almost 30 years since the last time that we've seen Mike Barnes. What's Mike Barnes doing today?
What is Mike Barnes doing today? That's a really interesting question. You know, and I wonder. You know, a lot of people ask me the question. They say, could Mike Barnes beat Johnny Lawrence? And I have no idea because I have no idea what Mike Barnes has been doing since he was 17 years old. You know, I always thought that Barnes would have gone one of three ways. I like to think that he either would have gone into the military and gotten himself straightened out. I think he could have also become more of a psychopath and you know, gone down the wrong road and wound up in prison, where who knows, maybe he met Dutch. And I also think it'd be really funny if he became just this really evolved cat, like he's a, you know, like he's a personal growth and anger management counselor or something.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
you know, who knows? I guess, you know, it would be interesting to find out what, you know, what the guys writing and producing Cobra Kai think about that, because probably they're going to have the most to say about it if that ever happens. So,
well, that leads into the next question. Is there room for Mike Barnes to join Cobra Kai?
sure, I think of course there is. You know, the producers are fans of the show. I mean the original films, and I think they want to incorporate as many people from the canon material Cobra from the Karate Kid universe that they can. So all I can say is stick around, and we shall see.
Awesome story arc for Mike Barnes, and you know,
Yeah,
hopefully, I'm predicting we'll see.
yeah,
Um, and you know, and just back to your last answer, you know, Mike Barnes going into the military. So I mean, he spent some time, you know, in Karate Kid 3 with Terry Silver, and obviously with Creed. So you know, who knows? You know, maybe he went into the military and you know became a you know excellent sergeant and had his own story, you know, in there. But we do know
yeah,
that you know he was a businessman. So yeah, he was a.
yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
we'll see.
good negotiator.
Absolutely, great negotiator. Absolutely. Um, can can Sean say the famous line from Karate Kid 3? Your karate's a joke, LaRusso.
Your karate's a joke, LaRusso. Well, I've had like 30 years to keep rehearsing it, so really
Absolutely.
get it
Absolutely.
down.
And last question, Mike Barnes or Daniel LaRusso?
Listen, I may be a little biased, but I think I think Mike would probably win just because he's just not afraid of, you know, doing the dirtiest of dirty things to win. But you know, then again, there might be that psychological factor too that Daniel beat him. So you know, Daniel maybe has his number. I don't know. I don't know which
Yeah.
one. That's a good question.
Yeah, and Daniel currently is, you know, on his quest to finding balance. So, you know,
Yeah. Aren't we
he
all?
might be propelling to, you know, he might have that Yoda sense right
Right.
now.
Send out Yoda thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And Sean, also too, you know, you do have your own personal website as well, Sean Kanan, the Real Modern Gentleman. Are you able to just give us some details on what folks can see on there?
Yeah. You know, first of all, I want to thank everybody who has graciously been purchasing merchandise this last month. I've got some really fun T-shirts coming out for Halloween that say "Trick or Feet," and they were designed by Martin Go from Preserved Dragons, just an incredibly talented, gifted guy who was gracious enough to make that design. And I want to also tell everybody about something they might not know. So I have a new show that's on Amazon Prime, and it's called Studio City. And Studio City was a dream of mine to get this made for a very long time. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a digital series, and I just said Amazon, and my Echo started talking in there. Shut up! There's 3 of them, and so like they all start going simultaneously. It's a great show. It was nominated for 8 Daytime Emmys and 12 Indie Series Awards, and I think people would really enjoy it. See me in a very different light doing that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, personal DMs, Sean Kanan responds to personal DMs for exclusive merchandise, or please visit the website, SeanKanan, really, really cool exclusive. There we go. And Sean, you also do personal messages on Cameo as well, right? Exclusive messages.
Yeah, that's what I do. So if anyone purchases a photo, I do a personalized message for you, which is really fun. And I got to say, it's been really cool doing this because it's given me a chance to interact with the fans, and Karate Kid fans are amazing fans. They really are. It's amazing to see kind of a Cobra Kai. So it's really nice for me. I think that I've developed some really nice virtual friendships with people, talking back and forth, and I really appreciate the support.
Excellent. Now again, like I said earlier, the inner kid inside of me is beaten. I couldn't be more happy on behalf of MovieJunk today. We definitely would love to do this.
I appreciate that. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, and thank you so much for all the support. You guys are the best. All right, take care.